Well, from wherever you're watching us in Nairobi, Kenya, and around the world, you are in time for KBC Prime Edition, coming to you live from Broadcasting House right here along Harithuku Road. Good evening. My name is Mboya. Tonight, the country marks the 25th anniversary since the twin bombing that rocked the capital, Nairobi, and across the border, Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. Live in studio, we are hosting Dr. Peter Cheboy, who's a security and political analyst. We're going to talk about that single act that killed over 200 people plus injured close to 4,000 people who have lifelong injuries. What were the lessons learned 25 years on? So we're going to have that interview coming on later on at the tail end or during this live broadcast. But first, let's take a look at an executive summary of the stories that we compiled for you tonight.
Tumekubaliana ya pili ya kwamba mambo ya vita, mambo ya kuharibu biashara ya watu, kuharibu kuchoma mali ya serikali, kuchoma barabara na mataya, kuharibu mambo ya nchi na kusabotage uchumi wa nchi, hiyo pia itakoma.
Clean your hands first. President Ruto's demand to Azimio as he calls on the opposition to denounce violence before holding talks with Kenya Kwanza. Court summons Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority Managing Director for breach of orders, stopping implementation of fuel levy. Plus, Kenya marks 25 years since its worst terror attack, the August 7th, 1998 bomb blast. Thank you once again for joining us. Our socials at KBC Channel 1. My Twitter handle at Mboya24. The person in charge of a sign language docket tonight, Lucy Mora. President William Ruto says that the opposition must denounce violence before the 10-member bipartisan dialogue committee can begin talks. Acknowledging sentiments by the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga that he is not interested in joining President Ruto's administration, the head of state said that he had instructed his team to talk with the opposition, but added that a political handshake and violence experienced during the anti-government protests are off the table. JJ Kioria with that report.
With a meeting with the political leadership in Mount Kenya expected Tuesday, President William Ruto maintained that the anticipated dialogue between government and opposition would only happen under specified parameters. Reacting to the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga's sentiments, the president called on the opposition to go a step further and denounce violence witnessed in the recent anti-government protests.
Wamekubali jana ya kwamba mambo ya handshake hata hawa hawataki. Hiyo tumekubaliana. Sasa mimi nataka niwaulize jambo la pili. Kwa sababu mmekubali mambo ya handshake, mmewachana nayo. Mimi jambo la pili nataka niwaambie pia tukubaliane mambo ya vita na fujo na kuharibu mali na kuharibu maisha biashara ya watu. Pia na hiyo tukubaliane tukomeshe katika taifa letu la Kenya.
We want Kimani Ichung'wa at your team. Before you start these talks, you make it a condition that Raila Odinga and his team must denounce violence as a way of sorting political issues in this country. Tumekubaliana hiyo?
Revealing that his team had firm instructions on what should be the agenda of the Kenya Kwanza side in the talks, President Ruto says he will not back down on the non-negotiables.
If we agree on those two, that there is no handshake and there is no violence, then we can proceed as a country, we can discuss the rest of the things. Mambo ile ingine yote tunaweza kuzungumza, lakini mambo mawili hayako katika mjadala.
Wale jamaa wasijaribu kusema hao ndio wataendesha serikali hii. Wanajaribu kusema watu waende kufungua masava na nini. Kwani mwaka mmoja imepita na hujui kwamba rais wa Kenya ni William Samoei Ruto?
Sisi tuko tayari kuongea mambo yanayohusu mwananchi wa kawaida. Mambo ya kibinafsi, mambo ya kugawa mamlaka, mambo ya nusu mkate, mambo ya handshake, hayo hayako kwa meza ya sisi kuongea na wale marafiki zetu.
Mimi yangu ya mwisho, rais wetu, hii maneno ya mazungumzo, mimi kwa roho yangu hata sitaki. Mimi hata ningesema tuachane na mazungumzo.
On the thorny issue of the cost of living, the president says his administration is implementing its plan of subsidizing farm inputs and the efforts are bearing fruit.
Furniture tutatengeneza hapa Kenya na nyinyi vijana mjipange. Mambo ya samaki tutapeleka vijana wetu kule Indian Ocean wavue samaki, tukule samaki ya Kenya. Neguo.
Ile mpango umechukua. Ile laini mimi naona wewe unapitia. Ni ile ya mzee Mwai Kibaki. Ya kupanga uchumi.
On Tuesday, the president is also expected to hold a cabinet meeting at the Sagana State Lodge. John Jacob Kuria, Prime Edition.
Meanwhile, President William Ruto has affirmed that stalled government projects will be revived, expanded and modernized. On day 3 of his tour of Mount Kenya, the head of state pitched tent in Nyeri County where he launched various government projects including roads, water and sewerage projects in Othaya, Tetu and Mukurueini constituencies. He vowed to follow in the footsteps of the late retired President Mwai Emilio Kibaki in delivering development projects right across the country. Giverson Maina is the one who packaged this report.
President William Ruto on Monday morning embarked on a mission to launch and commission development projects in Nyeri County in the larger Mount Kenya region.
Tunaondoa ushuru kwa bei ya mambo ya maziwa, tunafukuza cartels na vile vile tunafunga kabisa mambo ya kulete maziwa powder milk kutoka dunia ingine yote, ndio bei ya ng'ombe ya wakulima wetu iweze kupata bei ya sawa sawa.
On the third day of his walking tour, the president began by launching the Shamara Rutene Road in Mukurweini constituency. He noted that all the ongoing road construction across the country will be completed on time before new ones are started.
Mambo ya Mlima Kenya, hakuna kitu tuliandikania na wewe. Lakini kwa sababu wewe ni msema kweli, wewe ni muungwana, you are a man of integrity. Yale mambo yote tulisikizana, utafanyia mambo ya Mlima Kenya, umetufanyia na ukatuongeza juu ya hayo.
In the neighboring Tete constituency, the head of state commissioned the 2,500-acre Kaigunji irrigation project that will increase the value of horticultural products by 500 million shillings annually and create at least 15,000 jobs.
Vijana tumepeleka shuleni, wamesoma, wametoka shuleni, hatujawapangia watafanya kazi gani, wanakuja wanahangaika, wanaingia kwa pombe, wanaingia kwa madawa, tunapoteza generation ya vijana wetu. Na ndio sababu mwaka huu tumesema kama serikali ya Kenya, vile tunapanga masomo ya watoto, vile vile tunataka kupanga ajira, vile watapata kazi.
Then the president and his entourage proceeded to Othaya, where he also commissioned the Othaya sewerage project and last mile connectivity.
Kubaliana na waziri Alice, tunajenga dams ingine 100 Kenya ya kusukuma maji kila sehemu ya Kenya.
Later, President Ruto opened the Nyeri stage and bus park in Nyeri town. Give us Mana, Prime Edition.
The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority Managing Director Daniel Kiptoo has been summoned by the High Court to show cause why he should not be cited for contempt of court over the implementation of a fuel levy contained in the Finance Act 2023. A 3-judge bench led by Justice David Majanja ordered Kiptoo to appear in person on the 13th of September 2023 when the case will be heard. The court has consolidated all 10 petitions filed by various individuals and organizations against the implementation of the Finance Act 2023.
All is set for the debut hearing of the Finance Act 2023 case from September 13 and 14, 2023, even as Kenyans tighten their belts for now for the deduction of the housing levy. A pre-trial hearing of the Finance Act 2023 kicked off at the High Court Monday morning. The bench led by Justice David Majanja gave room to the petitioners to allow consolidation of all the petitions for ease of administration.
All the petitions listed before us today are now consolidated for purposes of hearing. We'll hear them all together.
A move that was applauded by all the petitioners.
We pray that first, that there be a conservatory order, that the Section 84 of the Finance Act cannot be implemented.
Busia Senator Okiya Omtata's application to cross-examine the speakers of both the National Assembly and the Senate on their sworn affidavits was however declined.
Because the affidavit is fundamental to determining one question, whether or not there was concurrence between the two speakers.
Either the Speaker of the National Assembly was not across what was in the report, which was tabled in the National Assembly about 17 days before his vote.
It is a new issue in terms of John Florence, and I reiterate that we were not parties. Senator Omtata asked the Court of Appeal, my Lord, the Court of Appeal, like this court's proceedings, a judicially noticeable.
A move that did not sync well with the senator, who claimed that the matter was of great public interest to establish the truth.
We are not persuaded that we should exercise this jurisdiction at this stage in view of the fact that those issues were all before the court when it made the decision. Must be recalled that this is a decision in rem, and it binds all the parties whether they were before the court or not.
Law Societies of Kenya's prayer to persuade the court to suspend the Court of Appeal ruling on implementation of the Finance Act 2023 all fell flat.
So that the petitions are now scheduled for hearing, and it is on that basis that we decline to give any interim orders, because we believe those matters of conservatory orders were resolved by the Court of Appeal.
But the court was equivocal on EPRA MD Daniel Kipto, who will have to appear in court when the hearing begins for disobeying court orders.
There was an application by Mr. Omtata for contempt. Summons shall issue to Mr. Bargoria to attend court on 13th of September.
The petitioners, respondents and interested parties have been ordered to file the application latest by 31st of August 2023. Reporting from Milimani Locos in the county of Nairobi, I'm Ruth Wamboy.
Now, survivors and families of victims of the August 7th, 1998 terrorist attack at the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi are now calling for a joint partnership between the Kenyan and American governments to expedite the compensation process. During the 25th commemoration of the Terror Act, survivors not only recounted their experiences, but also weighed in on the steps that both governments need to take to honor a compensation pledge. Dori Narange reports.
Douglas Sidialo, a survivor of the 1998 American Embassy bomb attack in Nairobi, gives an account of that fateful day.
I have never witnessed light of day again. I became blind. I was rescued unconsciously from the scene of the shooting and taken to Kenyatta National Referral Hospital, where Kenyan doctors and German surgeons who have flown in tried their very best to save my sight, but without success. 2 months later, I was discharged. And the doctor in charge, Dr. Gondi, told me, Douglas, you know what? After 6 months, you'll be able to regain back your sight. But I've been waiting for that miracle to happen for the last 25 years.
The attack that claimed 224 lives and left 5,000 maimed. 25 years later, most of the survivors, silent survivors, and families of victims are yet to be compensated.
I only request the Kenyan government, the American government, to give compensation to the bombless victims so that they can get the closure that they need.
The commemoration at the August 7th Memorial Park in Nairobi was marked with the lighting of candles and laying of wreaths.
We request consideration to make Kenyan victims eligible to participate in the U.S. Victim Terrorist Compensation Fund. This anniversary provides the opportunity for the U.S. to further enhance its long-term commitment to Africa in the U.S.-African relationship.
Doreen Arange for Prime Edition.
Well, many Kenyans saying that it's disheartening to see that Kenyans bore the brunt of that attack, yet they had no idea what the dispute was all about, and some of them saying that they've not been compensated. So what are the lessons that we are learning 25 years on? We will be speaking to Dr. Peter Cheboy, who is a security and policy analyst, not political analyst, as I said, from the National Counter-Terrorism Center in just a little while. But moving on, the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee has pleaded for support from the Senate to enable it achieve its mandate in enhancing devolution. The committee, which on Monday briefed the Senate Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on the status of transfer of functions to county governments, noted that they were still functional components that needed to be unbundled in sectors such as health, water, and education, which required additional resources. The committee also accused the State Department of Devolution of interfering with their mandate. Here's that report.
Appearing before the Senate's Devolution Committee, the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, IGRTC, cited what it termed as functional components that needed to be fully transferred to county governments based on a report prepared by various stakeholders.
There will not be anybody who will say they are surprised. We have done 12 reports for each of the sectors, and those are the documents we would like them to validate.
Most of the unbundled functions fall under health, water, education, energy, agriculture, lands and public works sectors.
A number of the governors are stressing that they would want delineation. They would want ownership of ECD on its own, and then the primary remain with the other piece of land, which is proving to be a bit difficult.
No, the Port Health, initially counties were very confident that it is their function, but in analysis we realized that has to do with international relations, and a county cannot confidently handle an international relation issue.
Ebola could actually come through Busia. So properly speaking, whose business is it to protect Kenya from Ebola crossing across the board? It's national government.
It is for this reason that the Kithinji Kiragu-led committee sought the Senate support in funding the full devolvement of these functions.
How it is going to require very collaborative effort between Parliament and our committee to be able to push this thing through. Because for sure there will be resistance. The governors are very adamant. They don't want to hear any transfer functions without the transfer of associated resources.
IGRTC also raised concern of interference in its mandate by the State Department of Devolution.
You remember very well, there's a time we were looking for money to do valuation of assets, and even the transfer of functions. And we had worked hard in IBEC and all corridors to get the money. When the money came, it came under the fault of that ministry.
Kamchi Menza for Prime Edition.
Government designs a youth bill. Details of that and much more coming up after our first break right here on Prime Edition. Stay with us.
Loto Moto. Sasa unaweza jishindia instantly na Loto Moto. Dial star 570 hash. Wakati wowote, siku yoyote ya wiki na mahali popote. Dial star 570 hash. Kisha chagua moja kati ya games za Loto Moto. Weka stakes zako 50 shillings, 300, 500, 2,000 shillings. The bigger your stake, the greater or the bigger your prizes. Cheza mara kadhaa na kumbuka, cheza responsibly. 18 years and above. Cheza Loto Moto.
Manase is one all-rounded, talented artist. She knows her craft for sure.
He is renowned for bringing a refreshing new sound to the music scene following the success of her 2019 debut EP, Falling Apart.
Legends on the track, on a mission, put the nation on the map. Now, the boy band Sauti Sol will be having their last dance as a team in November on the 4th. Now, here is where the gist is at. The VIP tickets are going for 20,000 Kenyan shillings.
110 models during the auditions, so it was a bit hectic, but through struggles in there, I managed to become one of the top title holders at our time, and Birmingham has really made my modeling journey a success.
Bahati featuring Enos B Mukando, eh? Is it a must I dance with you? Is it a must I?
Is it a must I dance with you? Is it? Kila mtu songa mukando. Kila mtu songa mukando. Kila mtu songa mukando.
오늘은 디데이입니다. 오늘은 디데이입니다.
나는 내가 다음 약속이 안 나오거든.
걱정 말아요. 내가 계속 지켜보고 있을 거니까.
그냥 잘못된 줄 알고. 저걸 왜 주이세요?
Yes.
There are times when reason becomes unclear in the heart, and forbidden loves come to life. Isabel Montalban will now convert paradise into a land of the wild. She knows her heart is true to one of the Oteros, but is not quite sure who of the three it is. Now, their view will blind them well beyond the core of their blood bond. In these wild lands, it is the rule of heart that is supreme. In wild lands.
Welcome back. Now, the government is in the process of designing the Kenya Youth Development Bill. Youth Affairs, Arts and Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba says the legal instrument seeks to support young people's growth, independence, and also promote their active citizenship alongside empowerment to improve their living standards. Namwamba, who launched the National Youth Week right here in Nairobi, Kenya, challenged the youth to take advantage of the opportunities presented to them as a means of securing financial freedom.
Officially on.
The National Youth Week kicked off Monday at the University of Nairobi. The event will culminate on the International Youth Day on Saturday and will be anchored on three main pillars, namely advancement of knowledge, skills and attitude development for the youth, engagement in the global goals, especially climate change action. Engagement of youth as drivers of change, innovation and creativity to sufficiently address the climate change crisis, and attainment of the global goals and enhancement of enterprise development among the youth. Youth Affairs, Arts and Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba says plans are at an advanced stage to formulate the Kenya Youth Development Bill.
The bill shall regulate measures and activities undertaken by the government aimed at improving the social status and position of youth in addressing their needs and interests.
The government is also in the process of reviewing the National Youth Council Act and number 10 of 2009 so as to align it to the Constitution.
This will assist the ministry to ensure that all the youth concerns, needs and aspirations are integrated in the socio-economic setup at both levels of governance.
And even this exposure that we are having now as we launch the Youth Week is going to take us places.
And on Thursday, August 10th, the National Youth Council will lead discussion on fostering partnership towards achieving bottom-up economic transformation agenda.
Joe is a fashion designer.
For the youth that showcase their different innovations and works at this Hustlers Bazaar, more collaborations and funding from the government will ensure that they too contribute to developing the country's economy.
If the government could create particular spaces where artists could get to showcase their art at very affordable prices or no charge at all, it would definitely help the artists be encouraged.
I've interacted with the able differently, and I would say they're even more able than even some of us. Maybe they can even come up with an initiative that will support talents when it comes to able different.
The National Youth Week will also have panel discussions on crucial topics affecting the youth. The weeks-long celebrations that will come to an end on Saturday at the Mboya International Sports Centre in Kasarani will not only seek to celebrate innovations by the youth, but also address matters affecting their daily lives. Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition in Nairobi.
He was a veteran coast politician who served as a minister in President Daniel Arap Moi's administration. This week on the cabinet, we focus on Robert Stanley Matano.
Matano represented Kinango constituency in Kwale district, now Kwale County, for 27 years from 1961 to 1988, when a political newcomer, Ali Bidu, beat him in the infamous queue voting system, commonly known as Mlolongo. In 1948, he attained a diploma in education at Makerere College. In 1949, he started his teaching career at Ribe Boys Junior Secondary School and later moved to Alliance. He was then promoted to District Education Officer position and posted to serve in Mombasa and Kwale. In 1960s, Matano joined politics. He was in the Lancaster House Conferences delegation of 1960, 1961 and 1962. KANU won the 1963 elections and formed the independent movement as KADU took the opposition benches. KANU won the 1963 elections and formed the independence government as KADU took the opposition benches. But in 1964, KADU was dissolved and its members, including Matano, who had been elected the MP for Kinango, joined the ruling party. In 1960, he served as Minister for Foreign Affairs. Later that year, he was appointed Assistant Minister for Health. Between 1966 and 1969, he acted as Assistant Secretary General of KANU. After Mboya's assassination in 1969, Kenyatta appointed Matano acting KANU Secretary General until 1979, when he was confirmed to the position at the beginning of the revitalization of the party. From 1967 to 1968, he served as Assistant Minister in the Vice President's office. In 1973 to 1975, he served as Minister for Information and Broadcasting. In 1975, he served as Minister for Cooperative Development, and between 1975 and 1989, he served as Minister for Local Government. He then moved to Housing and Social Services in 1980, serving in the same capacity. While in 1980 to 1983, he served as Minister for Cooperative Development. In 1983 to 1985, he served as Minister for Information and Broadcasting. In 1985, Matano was dismissed from his position as Minister for Information and Broadcasting. He remained in Parliament until he lost his seat in 1988, then settled on his farm in Kinango. Matano retired from farming and moved to his rural village, Ndugunimkono, in Mazeras. He died in a Mombasa hospital in 2008, aged 83 years. Jackie Wamiru, The Cabinet.
Coming soon on KBC. What's in Your Kitchen? A show that celebrates Kenyan and African dishes.
Rusha. Wait. Be careful. Yes, because I've seen some fire jump there. That is called flambeing. Flambeing. So tukiona moto tujue ni flambeing. Crushed methi seeds. Kila siku soma kitu mpya. Mchele wetu iko sawa. Hii iko sawa. Tumalize. Sasa ni kwenda tukule. Napima.
Hii ni chakula mzuri sana.
Nzito kabisa. Salivate this delicious meal on your screen while taking notes for the recipe. Don't miss What's in Your Kitchen, coming soon on KBC.
Ningekuwa wewe ningehesabu masaa ya pumzi ndio bakia na hapo ulimwenguni. Hapa tushamea. Mizizi shakita.
Wewe support vile anavyonifanya.
Nakwambia angalia hizi kelele ndo mimi sitaki.
Uona ushirikina huu. Kate amerudi.
The show that keeps you updated on everything you need to know about technology.
Digital resilience is about organizations being able to continue to operate despite negative impacts that they've experienced.
The subject digital transformation, we keep talking about it, but very many people fail to understand that.
Twitter's removal of blue ticks is forcing accounts to find new ways to prove authenticity as concerns over copycats mount. At the same time, Elon Musk has given blue ticks to a few celebrities who didn't ask for one, such as writer Stephen King and Larry Madowo, for free.
Take on Tech every Monday at 10:30 p.m. on KBC Channel 1. Stay tuned.
A very good evening to you. Thank you for choosing Prime Edition this evening. Time to get the latest in the world of business. My name is Betty Kiptum. Now, the government has assured Kenyans of their data security after cyber criminals tried to infiltrate government services. Information, Communication and the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo says the public and private entities have a crucial role to play in building a robust data protection ecosystem. The CS spoke during the launch of the Jitume Digital Laboratory at the coast, which is expected to address connectivity as well as open up job opportunities for young people.
Last month, a criminal network calling itself Anonymous Sudan attempted to attack various Kenyan online platforms in a bid to sabotage service delivery. The government says the attacks were thwarted by the National Computer Security Incident Response Team, though the public could not access services on popular platforms like eCitizen. Information, Communication and the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo says the government has boosted cybersecurity measures to deter future attacks.
We have embarked as Kenya government on an ambitious program of digitalization, but in the same vein, we want to ensure that any data that comes into the hands of the government, public data that the government holds in trust, is both private and secure in conformity to the law.
Owalo says the government is working with the private sector to strengthen the capacity of local IT infrastructure. The CS further says the government will empower the Office Data Protection Commissioner to be at the heart of data and digital transformational agenda.
We want to manage data security and privacy concerns in a more efficient and effective manner. Nothing, ladies and gentlemen, could demonstrate our commitment towards this better than taking the operationalization entities closer to the people on the ground where real work or the real digitalization programs are being undertaken.
Data Commissioner Immaculate Kasait says data is critical in the fourth industrial revolution and that Kenya must not be left behind in the digital revolution.
Technology has its footprint in the growth of African economy, the digital transformation of all sectors of the country, and under the ministry, from telecommunication, healthcare, agriculture, housing, urban development and education, financial services, and all ensure that we embrace innovation using digital solutions.
The Information Cabinet Secretary spoke during the inauguration of a digital skills laboratory at the Kenya Coast National Polytechnic in Mombasa. The Jitume Digital Laboratory is expected to address connectivity as well as open up job opportunities for young people. For Prime Edition from Mombasa County, I am Ann Mburu.
Now, the government has delivered 17 tons of BT cotton seed to Busia farmers in efforts to boost production and revive the textile sector. President William Ruto says efforts are underway to see the country plant a total of 11,253 acres in the first phase, with the ultimate objective being to put 42,000 acres under cotton production in the country.
Sehemu hii yote mpaka Wazingishu, sehemu zingine kule Western Kenya, sehemu zingine Nyanza, Eastern Province, tumesema ya kwamba tukienda mbele tunataka kuweka mazao la pamba nguvu mpya, tuwe na mbegu mpya ambayo inaitwa BT cotton.
Tumekuwa tukipanda zile za kuchota na kuweka zile fuzzy seed. Ilikuwa ina hasara kwa sababu inataka pruning, lakini hii tunaambiwa tukipanda mbili itafanya vizuri na tumewahi jaribu.
Hii mbegu ilikuwa na bei ghali sana na hata mkulima wa kawaida hangeweza kupata ama atakuinunua, lakini tunataka sana kushukuru serikali kuu pamoja na serikali ya ugatuzi kwa kutuletea hii mbegu sasa free.
Tutawasaidia na pembejeo, mbegu, tutawapatia mbolea.
Hiyo kwanza ni jambo la si la kawaida. Mimi kama mkulima wa pamba, kwanza kupanda pamba na mbolea sijawahi jaribu, lakini this time round nataka nijaribu kabisa na nipande hizo mbegu pamoja na mbolea.
Hapo awali wakati bei ya mbolea ilikuwa 7,000, singeweza hata kununua mfuko moja na shilingi 5,000, na leo naweza kununua mifuko 2 na shilingi 5,000.
Serikali imetukumbuka kupunguza bei ya mbolea na sasa kilimo ya pamba itaendelea.
Cooperative itarahisisha kujua kwamba mkulima ni nani, na kutokea hapo pia tutaweza kujua kwamba mavuno yametoka kwa kiwango gani.
Nimesaidika kwa sababu singaliweza
kupata mbegu hizi za bei ghali nikiwa peke yangu. Naambiwa kilo moja ni shilingi 3,000. Na sasa vile tulikuja kwa cooperative iliweza kutusaidia.
Bali na kufaidi wakulima, tunataka pia hiyo cotton value chain ifaidi wananchi na vijana waweze kupata ajira ili tuweze kupeleka taifa letu mbele.
Niko among the 10 extension officers tutakuwa natembea kwa farmers. Sasa tutakuwa na coordinate farmers na cooperatives. Farmers wajue wapata mbegu, mbolea nini. Itakuwa sasa through sisi na cooperatives, itakuwa kama link yao.
Pamba ambayo wana Kenya, wakulima wa Kenya wanapanda, sisi kama kampuni ya Rivertex tunapatia ile tunaita guaranteed market, sababu uwezo wetu kununua pamba ni kubwa sana. Kwa sasa yale mazao ambayo yanatolewa Kenya mzima hawezi kutosheleza mahitaji ya kampuni yetu, na kuna pia kampuni zingine ambazo ziko Kenya, so ni vizuri wakulima wetu waweze kupanda pamba ambayo inatosha.
The ginnery had been revived at a cost of 100 million by the national government. So cotton is one of our flagship projects. And we are being supported by the national government, including even World Bank. The targets we have set are clear. We have 35 wards. And we are saying each ward sets aside 1,200 acres. 35 times 12, that translates to 42,000 acres.
And that's the business news we had this evening. Of course, sports news is coming up with Daniel Wahome from the business desk. Have yourself a good night. My name is Betty Kiptum. Bye-bye.
Cheza Loto Moto. Sasa unaweza jishindia instantly na Loto Moto. Dial *570 hash wakati wowote, siku yoyote ya wiki na mahali popote. Dial *570 hash. Kisha chagua moja kati ya games za Loto Moto. Weka stakes zako 50 shillings, 300, 500, 2,000 shillings. The bigger your stake, the greater or the bigger your prize. Cheza mara kadhaa na kumbuka, cheza responsibly. 18 years and above. Cheza Loto Moto.
오늘은 디데이입니다. 오늘은 디데이입니다. 나는 내가 다음 약속일이 안 나오거든. 걱정 말아요. 내가 계속 지켜보고 있을 거니까. 그냥 잘못된 줄 알고. 저 해주세요.
Так, 천천히. Ясно? Ясно.
Yes, Massive and Crew, if you love reggae and you're a reggae head, you know the place to be each and every Wednesday.
You gotta show me there's a future in there. Why you make me stay when I should not? Are you so strong or is the weakness in me? Why do you come here?
Yeah, remember, this is where radio meets TV.
My name is Daniel Wahome and welcome to Prime Edition Sport. Now, the national boxing team, the Hit Squad, jetted back home today from the just concluded African Boxing Championships that were held in Yaoundé, Cameroon. Head coach Musa Benjamin says the Kenyan pugilist will now shift focus to the Olympic qualifiers slated for next month in Dakar, Senegal.
1, 2, 3! Hit Squad! The national boxing team Hit Squad arrived back home Monday after bagging 7 bronze medals at the just concluded Africa Boxing Championship held in Yaoundé, Cameroon. The performance saw Kenya ranked 17th in the continent, a drop from last year's performance where Kenya had placed 12th in Maputo, Mozambique. The bronze medalists were Peter Abuti, heavyweight, Robert Okaka, light heavyweight, David Karanja, lightweight, Elizabeth Andiego, light heavyweight, Christine Ongare, minimum weight, Shafi Bakari, bantam, and Amina Mada. The Kenyan pugilists will now shift focus to the Olympic qualifiers, which will be held in Dakar, Senegal in September.
Tumekuwa disappointed kidogo manake hatukuweza kupata yale medali ambazo tulikuwa tumetarget ambao ilikuwa ni gold. Tulikuwa tuna matumaini kwamba tungeweza kupata kati ya hayo semi-final 7 tunaweza kupata finalists na baadaye gold medalists kama 3 au 4. Lakini kwa ajili ya mambo tofauti hatukuweza kupata medali hayo.
Tumejituma, tumefanya vile tuwezavyo. Tunajivunia tumepata bronze na tunatumaini tunaweza fanya more better, so ni kurudi tu na kuzidi work hard. Najua the next tournament ambapo tunaenda kujitayarishia itakuwa qualifier. So tuko na muda kidogo wa kusharpen mistakes zenye tumekuwa nazo katika huu mchezo.
Hit Squad bagged 3 silver medals in the previous edition of the Africa Boxing Championship held in Maputo, Mozambique.
Now moving on is that Chris Ochieng came off the bench to score the winning goal as Bidco United beat Nairobi City Stars 1-0 in the opening elite pre-season match at the Utalii grounds, Nairobi. In another match played, Kariobangi Sharks humbled Posta Rangers by 2-1.
Changizi huko kwa David Kalama.
Dennis Owalo and Robinson Asenwa came close for City Stars, while new signings Clinton Asiago and Eric Michibu were Bidco's main attacking threat.
Owalo, tisha pale Owalo, bado Owalo nyaka goalkeeper Stanley.
Both sides missed clear chances in the first half, with the match going to the break scores at 0-0. Bidco made a number of chances before the restart, while City Stars opted to remain 9 of the players who started the match. Bidco made a number of chances before the restart, while City Stars opted to retain 9 of the players who started the match. New signing Mboya twice came close to breaking the deadlock in the 49th and 53rd minute. The winning goal came in the 64th minute through Bidco substitute Chris Ochieng.
Onyango Yobo akampisha Chris Ochieng, nafasi nzuri, goli la kwanza. Anatiliwa pasi nzuri.
In another match, Kariobangi Sharks humbled Posta Rangers 2-1.
Kevin Lukotiala Fere! Kevin Lukotiala Fere!
Sila Unyango for Prime Edition.
Victor.
Now moving on is that Madira Girls, popularly known as Soccer Assassins, were crowned the FKF Women's Division 1 champions after a convincing 4-1 victory over Kibera Soccer Ladies at the Rift Valley Institute of Science and Technology grounds, that's Arvist in Nakuru County. Meanwhile, Bungoma Queens bagged the last promotion spot to the FKF Women's Premier League.
Chamazi Azam Complex na Tanzania.
Kibera Ladies opened the scoring through Maximila Ruby in the 18th minute.
Anafunga goli la kimiujiza hapa. Fataki kubwa yake M16.
Charity Midema equalized for Soka Assassins in the 24th minute.
Goli tamu sana la tatu hapa.
Valerie Nekesa scored the second goal for Soka Assassins in the 31st minute before getting her brace in the 82nd minute. Faith Atieno scored the 4th goal for Assassins.
Na furaha sana, ingawaje kulingana na namna tulikuwa tunafanyia tulikuwa tunatarajia. Kwa hivyo na furaha, matarajio yetu yametimia.
Madira Girls make history as the first high school team to play in the FKF Women's Premier League. The 2 finalists walked away with a cash prize of $500,000 shillings.
Ya kina dada kwa mara ya kwanza.
Now, Julius Karenga emerged as the overall winner of the Betika Golf Tournament that was played at the Dumberi Golf Club in Kiambu County. Karenga garnered 38 points to bag the title, while George Mwaura finished as a runner-up with 35 points. Omaida Chege was a lead winner with 42 points. Dumberi Golf Club captain Michael Karanga was quick to note such tournaments play a crucial role in nurturing upcoming talent. The tournament attracted over 60 junior and senior amateur golfers.
We are here today to show support for the players who are playing today, and at the same time to show you that we are here to support those who are willing to go to the next level of sport. As I said, if Karanga makes it to the next level, even to represent, for example, the country, Betika is there to offer support in any form possible.
That's Dumberi Golf Club. It's known as St. Andrews, and it is the only golf course in Kenya where you can also play football. And as we close, just a quick reminder, Nigeria out of the FIFA Women's World Cup, lost 4-2 on penalties to England in the last 16, and Australia beat Denmark 2-0 to advance to the quarterfinals. So that's it for the sport. And now, Tom Mboya is going to be coming back with tonight's interview. 25 years on, what are the lessons learned after the bomb attack at the former U.S. Embassy at the junction of Moi Avenue and Haile Selassie Avenue? Our guest tonight is Dr. Peter Cheboy, who is a security and policy analyst at the National Counter-Terrorism Center. My name is Daniel Wahome. Enjoy the interview.
Ningekuwa wewe ningehesabu masaa ya pumzi niliyobakia nayo hapa ulimwenguni. Hapa tushamea, mizizi shakita.
Wewe support vile anavyonifanya.
Nakwambia angalia hizi kelele ndo mimi sitaki.
Uone ushirikina huu. Kate amerudi.
She hasn't just taken this title, she's absolutely obliterated the whole field. 352.96.
It's a big stage, big names and big expectations. An immersive celebration of athleticism. More than 2,000 athletes from over 200 countries will compete in 49 events. Drawing inspiration from past memorable outings, Team Kenya is looking ahead for a remarkable feat in the forthcoming World Athletics Championship in Budapest, Hungary, in Central Europe. Witness the wonders from Budapest, Hungary on 19th through to the 27th of August, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Is one all-rounded talented artist. She knows her craft for sure.
She is renowned for bringing a refreshing new sound to the music scene following the success of her 2019 debut EP, Falling Apart.
Now, the boy band Sauti Sol will be having their last dance as a team in November on the 4th. Now, here is where the gist is at. The VIP tickets are going for 20,000 Kenyan shillings.
110 models during the auditions, so it was a bit hectic, but through struggles here and there, I managed to become one of the top title holders at our time, and Birmingham has really made my modeling journey a success.
Bahati featuring Enos B Mukando, eh? Is it a must I dance with you? Is it a must I?
Is it a must I dance with you? Is it? Kila mtu songa mukando. Kila mtu songa mukando. Kila mtu songa mukando.
Welcome back. And just before we get into the interview, as Kenya solemnly marks the 25th anniversary of the devastating United States Embassy bombing on the 7th of August 1998, the nation reflects on its resilience in the face of adversity. Kenya subsequently evolved its security apparatus, resulting into the implementation of measures aimed at safeguarding its citizens and visitors as well. In commemoration, this day we delve into how the country's response to the horrific events that led to the adaptation of new security protocols, including the widespread installation of the CCTVs that you see in buildings and also along highways, the enhanced security checks that you see in public places, and also the creation of a specialized counter-terrorism unit within the police service.
On this day 25 years ago, the Al-Qaeda terrorist group bombed the United States embassies in Nairobi and Dar es Salaam. The deadly attacks claimed hundreds of lives and maimed thousands others. August 7th thus became an indelible mark in Kenya's history. Sergeant retired Reverend Stephen Ojwang was just a teenager in high school then and remembers the day very well.
Seeing a building collapse, and all of a sudden I'm seeing masses running, people dying, and finally you get to notice that it was a terror attack. A bomb had been laid in a building which was meant to kill a vast majority of people within the city, and from that again there were pictures of military men running to Fundi Cooperative trying to rescue, and you look around the vicinities of Nairobi, everywhere things are falling apart.
The enormity of the tragedy not only served as a wake-up call compelling Kenya to take swift action to prevent recurrence of such horrors, but it also spurred Stephen's determination to keep his countrymen safe.
The basic thing that got me stranded is, where was the security? Where was the security to protect us, to make sure that this thing doesn't happen? And the magnitude of that explosion, how did they find themselves to that building late and then vacate the building and finally detonate it and kill the masses? And I thought maybe this is an opportunity also to go and now feel the taste and do what you can do within the system to see if you can be able to curb those kind of manners.
In the aftermath of the embassy bombing, Kenya embarked on various security measures, including installation of closed-circuit television cameras, CCTVs, on buildings and highways. This technology-based solution has become a cornerstone of the nation's security infrastructure, allowing authorities to monitor public spaces. Rigorous screening measures were introduced in public places. Stringent security checks such as baggage scans, metal detectors, and thorough pat-downs were enforced at airports, shopping malls, and public service vehicles.
Up to date, we can say the introduction of the CCTVs, the monitoring cameras on the roads, the gadgets that are used to screen either on the entry points, in crowded places, clubs, those things were introduced after 1998. You look at things like cybersecurity, where now there's an enhancement on our systems in terms of data protection. Those things were never taken serious as they are today.
Counter-terrorism units were established within the police and military service to swiftly respond to such threats. This massive infrastructure, however, may not achieve much without patriotism, hence rallying call that security begins with each one of us.
And if there are gaps, what would be your advice to the public?
I think Kenyans, we have a tendency of being alert when something has happened. And then shortly we have, I don't know whether it's selective amnesia, where we choose to forget and go back to the normals. Right now, as we are talking, if you go to the malls, they are being screened. You'd have your weapons. You're getting into your mall, you're screened. But the person screening you is not even aware of what he's looking for. And you get into the malls with your gadgets, with your equipment, with your weapons. And the common population also, we have we have slowed down our alertness to security measures. You can find a bag left somewhere, you don't care about it, you don't even know whether it's a bomb or anything. Nobody cares. In Nairobi especially.
Mariambo reporting for KBC Channel 1.
Thank you, Mariambo, for that report. Of course, the victim there, Sergeant Retired Reverend Stephen Ojwang, being interviewed, highlighting two issues that he observed. One of the questions he's asking is, where was the security? Where was the security? And of course, he also brings out the aspect of when the bad elements strike, the guard goes up, but after some time, it's dropped. Let me bring in Peter Cheboi, Daktari, who is a security and policy analyst from the National Counter-Terrorism Center. And you have listened to that clip.
Absolutely.
But what I would like you to start us off with, for those who perhaps did not live through this dark period, how would you describe to them the significance of that attack in our history as a nation?
Thank you so much, Tom. Before I go to that, I would like to introduce myself and what I do. So my name is Dr. Peter Cheboi, specialist in security and policy, as a security and policy analyst. I work at NCTC, that is National Counter-Terrorism Center, and our main role is coordination of all CT, that is counter-terrorism, and countering violent extremism efforts in this country. And by coordination, it means that we bring in all the players in the security sector and rallying all Kenyans and the whole of society to come to terms that this is a threat, an existential threat that requires concerted efforts by each and every person, including media and the other players in our society. Other than coordination, we also play a significant role when it comes to what we call prevention and countering violent extremism. And in prevention and countering violent extremism, we mean that we wanted to win the hearts and minds of people. So in relation to what you have said, first and foremost, after that introduction, I'd wish to express our empathy and also sympathies to those who lost their lives.
And those who were injured also.
Those who are injured, and even the families of victims. Because when it comes to victimhood, there are so many victims in different levels. We have the real victims up to the sixth victims who are in one way or another affected. So in that attack, more than 224 people lost their lives. Our sympathies goes to their families. More than 4,500 people were injured. We honor them because of the resilience that they've gone through up to this particular juncture, that we are marking the 25 years since that attack on 7th August 1998.
When you look back to that dark day, do you think that we are now better prepared for similar attacks, God forbid?
Thank you, Tom. When I look back from that time, 1998, up to now, which is 25 years ago, Kenya is better than the day that attack took place. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because of the different kind of improvements that have taken place, right from policy, security enhancement, the modernization of our security regime and architecture, among others, including also making the society or the public appreciate that this threat is real. Through our programs, sensitization on countering violent extremism, having partnership, collaborating with both internal and external partners in this fight. Yes.
When you talk about partners, I was looking at the Cambodia case, where we had the UN deploy. And it took them about 4 years to identify the pain points and, resolve and exit. So when you're talking about partnership with international organizations, how important is the exit matrix, for example? Because we are seeing across in Somalia, a lot of people are now saying 20 years on, where are the results? Is there an exit plan? Or how does that work for you as an expert in security? How important is it to factor that in, an exit strategy?
Yes, when it comes to the issue of exit strategy, each and every organization that gets into something has exit plan. And this exit plan is determined by so many factors, among them time frame, because you need to set a time frame. But when you get in, maybe there could be some complications that may lead to the extension of that time frame. And as we discuss about this exit strategy, and you've given us a comparative analysis of Cambodia and what is happening now in Somalia, across here.
Yeah.
Remember, the Al-Shabaab is domiciled in Somalia. Kenya, as we speak, has no what we call domestic terrorism. We are affected by international terrorism. Remember the Al-Qaeda which did the attack in 1998, and now these attacks that we are facing are attacks that are being launched and mounted from outside, and the fighters or attackers just come to Kenya to fulfill that mission in one way or another, if they are not detected, deterred, or disrupted.
So in the face of those kind of threats, how can citizens, because you talked about citizens, how can they contribute to enhancing their own security? Because you remember we also had reports that came from Lamu that, the remnants of Al-Shabaab who were part of that attack where we lost 2 people. So how can citizens, be made to also play a role in ensuring their own security?
Citizens or citizenry is a very critical mass when it comes to issues concerning security and developments, not only security, but also development. So citizen or the citizens are very important. In which way? One, in information sharing. The citizens have a role in ensuring that there is information sharing. And this information has to be shared to the relevant authorities. And we know who the relevant authorities are. Like the police, village elders also, among others. For example, buying the model of Nyumba Kumi initiative that can play that critical role. So citizens can do that. There is what we call the tragedy of lack of information sharing. And if that tragedy of lack of information sharing suffices, then it means that our society will be dangerously put in a state that will affect our security.
Okay. I want you to say something on cyber terrorism. Okay, what others call online radicalization. Is that a fresh frontier of extremism, and how do you mitigate that?
Absolutely, Tom. That is a fresh frontier of radicalization, whereby radicalizers craft messaging. They come up with messages which are compelling. messages which are highly captivating to ensure that they get into the minds and hearts of the young, vulnerable generation that can easily be manipulated. And therefore, this frontier is critical. And it's critical in such a manner that the information can easily be passed from one person to another, either covertly or overtly. They can use clandestine ways, including getting into the dark and deep web, to ensure that the information that they are sharing goes to their target group. Remember, this technology is now becoming commonplace. For example, what you have like your phone. Your phone is one powerful technology that has everything that you want to get. In fact, we call some of the applications by Google and wherever, internet browser, by Professor Google.
Yeah.
Professor Google can give you anything that you want to get from
anywhere.
Yeah. Including what is not seen.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this technology is one, important, as well as dangerous,
and
depending on the use of this technology. And that is why we advise on what we call prudent use or utility of technological gadgets, be it the software or the hardware.
Or the hardware.
Yes.
And that sounds like it could fall under the cluster of emerging trends. So, in addition, what other new tactics do you think that terrorists are employing that we need to be aware of and, consequently prepare for?
Yes, other than the use of technology, and technology can even be the rudimentary technology, the basic ones, like issues of IDs. The use of IDs is technological, even if it is that basic. That is why, in most cases, terrorists, because of their numbers, would always want to minimize their casualties. And by minimizing the casualties, they go in directions or in trajectories that will enable them to reduce their casualties so that they can keep their numbers.
Yeah.
So when you hear cases of ID explosion, an ID attack, among other things, it's one way of trying to minimize. So one of the technologies is the use of IDs, so that they can reduce their casualties, and maximize the casualties of innocent people or Kenyans, or even those that they are targeting to attack. Yes.
Okay, so we have seen cases where counter-terrorism measures, infringe on human rights. Okay, we have seen reports all over. So how do you strike a balance between the work on security and freedoms of the citizens in general?
Thank you. That's a very critical question that requires a lot of analysis. In statutes, in our constitution, and also in Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we have freedoms and rights. Some are inherent, which cannot be taken away, and some can be limited for particular reasons. For example, if we say that we curtail the movement or the freedom of movement of a suspect or a convict, are we in any way curtailing, or are we in any way removing the human rights from them? We say no. So some of these statutes are put in operation because they are supposed to guide. And one of the critical issues that we need to look at is what is the common good, and the common good to who? Remember, you have your rights, I have my rights. When you come or you surpass the red line, then already you'll be infringing into my rights.
Yeah.
But when the way these rights are supposed to be moderated in terms of who are you, what have you done, and what is it to the public.
Okay.
Then there is a way that this is sanctioned in a certain way by the law.
Okay.
And the law can guide us on how to go about that.
On how to deal with that.
Yes.
I want to thank you so much. Where my rights end is where your rights begin.
Yes, absolutely.
Dr. Peter Cheboy, Security and Policy Analyst from the National Counterterrorism Center.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for finding time to come and be with us. We have to bring it to an end.
Yes.
And I want to also thank you for watching on behalf of the indomitable team, Prime Edition team in the back end. We will be back here again tomorrow. My name is Mboya from Nairobi, Kenya, bidding you good night and God bless you.
One partition.